Greetings, I'm your host Red Tail. Welcome to Who Were the Real Slaves? Part 2 of a 4-part series entitled An American Deception. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Today, a more accurate depiction of the Native Americans of the United States is beginning to unfold. Because history has been told to us by Europeans with a European point of view, we have, up until recently, been given our historical facts in a distorted manner. Author Carol Birkin, in her book First Generations, explains that historians have come to understand that they must handle journals, government reports, sermons, books, and diaries written by Europeans about Native Americans cautiously, as artifacts of European adjustment to cultural diversity, rather than true guides to Indian societies. This European adjustment has given us a distorted view and has allowed many misconceptions and inaccuracies to be perpetrated. Case in point, most people believe that the existence of dark-skinned people in the United States began with the African slave trade. The truth is, as writer Jack Forbes expresses in his book Africans and Native Americans, many, but not all Native Americans were of a dark complexion without African ancestry. Truth be told, it was the Native American slave trade that placed many dark-skinned Native Americans into slavery. And to keep these facts in obscurity, many books evade the subject of the Native American slave trade. William L. Katz, in his book Black Indians, says it eloquently when he states that omission, not distortion, is the far more serious culprit in hiding the story of the Black Indians of the Americas. Although many attribute the demise of many native people to diseases that they did not have natural immunities to, one must examine forces other than disease, in particular the commercial trade in Indian slaves, to the termination of many southern clans, tribes, and chiefdoms. During exploring expeditions in America, leaders like Hernando de Soto and Ponce de Leon needed a means to reward the services of their soldiers. Since other means of payment were scarce, slavery satisfied this need. Slavery was considered a part of any expedition of discovery and conquest, so, as stated in Indian slavery during colonial times, not to follow such a custom would have been acting contrary to the spirit of the times. We must remember that the tribes that were being enslaved, many from up and down the southeastern coast, were of a dark complexion. In the book Africans and Native Americans, Jack Forbes states, in 1524, the Carolina coast people were said to be of a dark color, not much unlike the Ethiopians. These dark-colored Native Americans were being enslaved and sent by the tens of thousands to the West Indies or retained in the colonies, such as described by Lauber, in 1671, the Cusaux were sent to be sold out of the colony. Also, during the war with the Stono Indians in 1680, the captive Indians were to be carried to the West Indies as slaves. He describes 3 expeditions from 1702 to 1708 against the Yamasee, Appalachee, and Timucua of northern Florida. There was carried back to Charleston for sale as slaves almost the entire population of 7 towns. And last in this list, nearly all the Appalachee were distributed as slaves among the Carolina settlers. These scenarios were replicated thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times.
Between 400 and 500,000 Africans were brought directly to the shores of the United States during the slave era. Some landed here in Philadelphia at Front Market, which is the historic site of the London Coffee House, a place where slaves were bought and sold during colonial America. Christopher Columbus started the transatlantic slave trade when he shipped Native Americans back to Europe for sale. And while the 400 to 500,000 Africans is a large number, we must remember it still only represents 1/10 of the 4.5 million slaves inhabiting the United States during the slave era. You have just finished watching Who Were the Real Slaves, Part 2 of a 4-part series entitled An American Deception. For more information, please email us at anamericandeception@gmail.com. Peace.